Hello and welcome back to my channel. So you've noticed that I've put an update up about Eltharion the Blind, the model that is that I've put up. I've recently just spray painted him back up again, and I thought I would cover his history because it's somewhat unique for a high elf. He was a very good commander in the High Elf army, and depending on which edition of the fantasy battle books you read, he's either goes by the moniker Eltharion the Grim or Eltharion the Blind. Now the model I've got is the blind version, and in that version he becomes the master of sword masters and can lead loads of sword masters out of Hoeth and into battle, and he is a very good his senses are improved so much that he can hear the clink of armor from other elves as they're moving around, and these are elves who have survived years of training, years of fighting, so they know how to move quietly, and the slightest creak of a branch or a snap of a twig, the small things, but it alerts him to where the presence is, and he'll be ready to counter any attack that comes his way. And in both versions of the story, he gets poisoned by a witch elf's dagger, and it's his strength of will that gets him through being poisoned. Then, in one edition, he returns home and defeats Drum the Paunch after being poisoned, and in the other, he does it before he gets poisoned. So, which is which, I honestly don't know. As I say, there's two different versions for his backstory. But when he was, he then waited in Tor Anlek with a host of high elves who got destroyed by Malekith and his forces as he landed. And because of his impotence, he caused Malekith pain. And Malekith thought, I can't have this go in unpunished or anything like that. So he then decided to blind Eltharion permanently. So now that he was blinded, Eltharion was then taken under tutelage by Belenar, the High Lore Master of Hoeth, and he mastered fighting with a two-handed greatsword. I think he actually used his family heirloom, the white sword, for this fighting, and he soon surpassed Belenar's fighting skills. But his proud heart and his will were undiminished, would be a better way of putting it. And he and Alith Anna decided to launch a raid into Nagirond to teach their Druki cousins a lesson or two. And Malekith realizes that he's already felt this touch of Eltharion's blade once before and doesn't want to do that again. So he uh, he recalculates his battle plan, and yeah, they get sent back to Ulthuan damaged, but they taught the Druki a lesson or two that they won't forget. I mean, I believe the odds were about 4-1 in the Druki's favour, and safe to say that not many Druki survived. So there's actually more progression, I find, in the Blind's history than there is in the Warden of Tor Ivres's history. Because as the Warden of Tor Ivres, he defeats Drum the Paunch, and that's about it. There's nothing else really that happens of note in that backstory. I mean, yeah, he's got a Griffin, Stormwind, and he goes to try and find Grom to kill him, or to kill more orcs in the Badlands, and the orcs then learn that the elves fight well because Eltharion puts up a decent fight. But it doesn't seem. It seems to be more action. I say action, that's the wrong word. It seems to be more progression in this story to have been rash enough in some respects to launch a campaign with the Shadow King, both of whom Malekith has a strong hatred for, into the heart of the Dark Elves to make a point that the High Elves aren't weak. And it's this, dare I say, willingness to go in against not insurmountable odds, 4-1's not bad odds in many respects for High Elves. And he came out the winner, although, as I say, his forces were much reduced after that encounter. And Eltharion, as I say, he's not yet learned to be humble as such. His pride is still his weakness, but he is the master of swordmasters. So what that meant tabletop wise was you could field a unit of swordmasters and Eltharion on the tabletop, and they wouldn't take up any other slot aside from troops in your army. So you'd have one extra unit, which is really quite a good deal for Eltharion. And yeah, I prefer the Blind story because he actually has more progression about in his story, and you see how he copes as a blind elf, whereas Eltharion the Grim is more, he comes back from a raid in Naggarond having been poisoned. His dad's apparition tells him that his homelands have been invaded. He returns back to Tor Ivres. He quashes Drum the Paunch's Wa with the help of his army, and then and then looks into a waystone around the which is in the Warden's tower in Tor Ivres with 4 other warriors, and although no one knows what happened, he comes back out looking very grim and serious and rarely ever smiles ever again. And from that point on, he got the moniker, Eltharion the Grim. But the blind Eltharion version, as I say, went on to become the Master of Swordmasters, which it's impressive in and of itself. And I've had a chance to read briefly some of the old special character rules for him, and he had different sword fighting styles that either meant that he was hit on a 6+, or he could put one extra attack, two extra attacks if you wanted to choose a different style, the alternating styles. That's not +1 attack, sorry, it's +1 to hit, not +1 attack. Or +2 attacks. There's loads of other styles that you could do. He was acrobatic, so he could jump in and out of challenges if he wanted. And yes, his sword technically wasn't magical as such. It was a family heirloom. But it was a sword that made Malekith feel pain. And this is a guy who's been around since the Sundering in Elven history. So to make him feel pain is an impressive feat on its own. And when he teamed up with Aleth Anna, that is quite possibly the two elves leading the expedition that Malekith hates and fears the most. Eltharion's got the sword that's caused him to feel pain, and he doesn't like feeling pain because he's wearing a suit of armour that his mum kind of bound to him. And Aleth has refused, since the Sundering, this is, to bow his knee to him, and has caused him loads of, I say pain, it's more frustrations about not being able to keep provinces under control. And Aleth has managed to launch hit and run attacks, things like that, that have caused logistical nightmares, and he's having to divert resources elsewhere to try and find Aleth, and he just fades away into the background. So it's all these little things, little niggles that Aleth causes, that in the great scheme of things, Malekith is going, where is he? I don't know where he is. What's he doing? But Eltharion is more of a, I'm here, come and fight me if you want, but you don't want to because you're scared of me because I've made you feel pain. So that is my video on Eltharion. I will hopefully have found a way to put some pictures of him up on this video so you have something to watch. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.